Hey, Rebel Riders! If you're ready to get your hands a little dirty and show your CMX500 some love, you are in the right place. We are about to walk through a complete factory spec oil change, and we're pulling every single detail straight from the official Honda service manual. So yeah, let's dive right in. So the whole idea here is to break this down step by step so you can tackle this job with total confidence. Seriously, by the time we're done, you'll have all the know-how to do this perfectly, just like a professional technician would. Okay, first things first, you know the real secret to a smooth, totally headache-free oil change? It's all in the prep work. Let's go over exactly what you need to have ready to go before you even think about picking up a wrench. So let's start with the win. According to Honda, you should be changing your oil every 4,000 miles or at least once a year, whichever comes first. Now, the oil filter itself, that only needs to be replaced every 8,000 miles. But for today's guide, we're doing the full service. That means oil and the filter together. Here's your shopping list. You're going to need a 12mm socket, an oil filter wrench, and that's the official Honda part number right there on the screen. And this one is absolutely crucial, a torque wrench. Then you need 2.7 liters of the right oil, a fresh filter, and listen up, this is important, a brand new 12mm sealing washer. Trust me, having all this stuff laid out and ready to go just makes the whole job a breeze. Let's just talk about the oil for a second. The manual is super specific here. It's got to be SAE 10W30, API SG or higher. But the most critical part, the thing you have to look for, is that JSO MA standard. See, that spec is made specifically for motorcycles with a wet clutch, like your Rebel. It makes sure the clutch plates grip just right, without any slipping. If you use a car oil, especially one that says energy conserving, you can cause some serious clutch problems down the line. All right, with all our prep work done, it's time for the main event. Let's get over to the bike and walk through how to safely drain out all that old, used oil. Okay, first thing you want to do is start the bike and just let it run for a couple of minutes. This warms up the oil, makes it thinner, so it drains out way faster and more completely. Plus, it helps pull any of that suspended gunk out with it. Once it's warm, shut it off, slide your drain pan underneath, and pop off the oil filler cap. Then, grab your 12mm socket and take out the drain bolt from the bottom of the engine. Now let's talk about that tiny little sealing washer. The service manual could not be more clear about this. You have to replace it every single time. It's what they call a crush washer. It's made of soft metal and it's designed to squish just a little bit to create a perfect seal. Reusing the old one is like the #1 cause of those slow, annoying oil drips. It costs almost nothing and it guarantees a leak-free job. Once all the old oil has drained out, go ahead and clean the bolt and put it back in with your new sealing washer. Now this right here is why that torque wrench is non-negotiable. The spec is exactly 30 Newton meters. If you over-tighten it, you risk stripping the threads in the engine case, which is a very, very expensive mistake. But if it's too loose, it's gonna leak. Hitting this number gets it perfect. Okay, the old oil is out and the drain bolt is torqued down. Our next target is the oil filter. So let's shift our focus to the front of the engine and get that swapped out. Make sure your drain pan is positioned right under the filter because it's definitely going to drip a little bit of oil. Use your filter wrench to spin the old one off. Once it's out, take a clean rag and just wipe down that mounting surface on the engine. Now here's a little pro tip. Before you put the new filter on, dip your finger in some of the fresh oil and run a thin film over the rubber O-ring gasket. This helps it seal smoothly without bunching up or tearing. Now spin that new filter on by hand until you just feel the gasket make contact with the engine. Stop right there. From that point, you'll grab your torque wrench and tighten it to the factory spec of 26 Newton meters, which is about 19 pound-feet. Again, precision is what it's all about for a perfect seal without causing any damage. All right, we are on the home stretch now. The old oil is out, drain plug is tight, new filter is on. Now it's time for the really satisfying part, filling the engine up with fresh, clean oil. Now, how much oil do you actually add? This is pretty important, and it all depends on whether you change the filter. Since we did, the manual calls for exactly 2.7 liters. If you were just doing an oil change without the filter, it would be a little bit less at 2.5. Getting this number right is the key to not over or underfilling your engine. So using a funnel, go ahead and pour in your 2.7 liters of oil, then screw the filler cap back on. Now start the engine up and just let it idle for about 3 to 5 minutes. What this does is it circulates all that new oil and it fills up the new oil filter. Then shut it off and give it a couple of minutes for the oil to settle back down. Finally, and this is important, Hold the bike perfectly level and upright and check the little sight glass. The oil level should be right there between the upper and lower marks. We are just about done, but before we call this job complete, there are a few really important final checks to run through. This is what separates a pretty good job from a perfect one. First, just give the drain bolt and that new filter a quick look over. Make sure there are no drips, no leaks, confirm that oil level one last time in the window, and make sure you haven't left any tools sitting on the bike. And just to recap, remember the 3 golden rules. Always use a new washer, always use a torque wrench, and always use the correct JSO MA spec oil. And that's it. Just like that, you've done a factory spec oil change that you can be proud of. You know, by staying on top of simple maintenance like this, you're making sure your Rebel is gonna run great for years and years to come. So that really only leaves one question. What's the next job you're gonna tackle?